Welcome, everybody. I'm quite happy to be able to give this talk. Uh, it's a fundraiser for people who are victims of the earthquake in Turkey last year. I think 50,000 people were killed during the earthquake, and many people's lives were, their property, their homes, things were shattered. And uh, and so even for the people who are still alive, there's psychological things to process. You know, when you have to start your home all over, build your home all over again, and so forth. So this talk is to raise funds for those people. So thank you for inviting me to do it. I'm quite happy to be able to do this. And we're talking about compassion, right? Watering the seeds of compassion. Okay, so I always like to start things with a little bit of sitting quietly so we can, um, let the mind quiet. And then we'll set our motivation, we'll have the talk, and continue on from there. Okay, so let's just, come back to our breath for a couple of minutes. Let the mind calm down. So just breathe normally and naturally. Don't force your breath, but be aware of the breath as you're inhaling, as you're exhaling. And as you inhale and exhale, just let your mind relax and let it focus on the sensations of your breath. So do this just for a minute or two and then go on to our motivation. So let's set our motivation. Why are we here? What are we doing? So we want to learn about compassion so that we can develop that very wonderful quality in our own minds. And by cultivating compassion in ourselves, may we then affect the people around us in a positive way through acting with compassion. And so may this talk in which we're learning about compassion, may we be motivated, may our intention to listen and share this morning be motivated by compassion for all beings. So have a mind that cares about others, and think that what you're learning today, you will use to benefit all the people around you. So, what is compassion? Uh, from a Tibetan Buddhist viewpoint, compassion is the wish for living beings to be free of pain and misery and the causes of pain and misery. Okay, it's different than love, but it goes hand in hand with love. love is the wish for living beings to have happiness and its causes. Okay, so they go hand in hand. We need both of them. But when we talk about compassion, we're specifically talking about um, alleviating misery and suffering and preventing it. Yeah. So that's just what compassion is. It's very simple, that wish, that aspiration, that sentient beings be free of misery and its causes. Yeah. Now, there's some confusion about what compassion is, even though that's a very simple definition. Some of the confusion comes because the English word compassion, some people etymologize that word as meaning with suffering or to suffer together. Okay, so they say compassion is suffering together with somebody who is suffering. Okay, in other words, you understand their suffering. But the difficulty in using that etymology, suffering together with someone, is it makes it sound like we have to also be suffering because somebody else is suffering. Okay, so you're in the hospital. I am in so much pain because you're in the hospital. Okay, you got injured, or your relationship broke up. I am as miserable as you are, because that happened. That's not correct. That's not what compassion means, because when we suffer, well, put it this way, compassion, when we have compassion in our mind, our focus is on others, okay, on their experience, their misery. If we think compassion means that I have to suffer together with them, then our focus shifts to me and my suffering. I can't stand to see you suffer, so I'm just overwhelmed by suffering and seeing you suffer. Okay, that we would not call compassion. We would call that personal distress. Okay, because the focus is no longer on the person I have compassion for. It's on me. I'm suffering and I can't stand it. Okay, and so a lot of people get scared of being compassionate because they think that you have to just, suffer together with everybody. And that's not at all what compassion means. Okay? Actually, of course, when we see others suffer, we aren't happy about it. We want to do something about it. Yeah. But if we get depressed and unhappy, then we are immobilized by our own depression and unhappiness, and we can't even make ourselves happy and lessen our own suffering, let alone lessen the suffering of anybody else. Because we're too focused on, I'm suffering because you're suffering. Okay, is this clear? Because it's a point of confusion. Yeah, and sometimes religious imagery encourages that thing, like if you have the image of Jesus on the cross, oh, he died for our sins, so he's suffering because we're suffering, and now we should suffer because he suffered. It gets quite confusing in our minds, okay? And I don't know how it is in Islam, so excuse me if I'm, using a Christian example. But, we just have to think No, the emphasis is on the other person. Okay. Yeah. And compassion, when the Dalai Lama talks about compassion, he really encourages us to uh, to not want something in return when we're compassionate. Because sometimes if we're compassionate and we reach out and help somebody, there's one part of our mind that is saying, now you owe me something. I've been so kind to you. I've helped you so much and to alleviate your misery. So, you should have some obligation towards me now. Okay. That is not compassion. Okay. If we're acting with that kind of thought, that then people will they'll thank me, they will tell others how kind I am, how much I sacrifice for them. They will rave about my compassion all over the world. If I'm helping somebody or have even the mental factor of compassion in my mind, cultivating that for that kind of reason, somehow it isn't real compassion, is it? Because what's my underlying intention? That other people like me, that they praise me, that I have a good reputation, that, they're all falling all over the place thanking me because I'm so kind. Okay. Um, so that also isn't pure compassion. Yeah. And so here's where the Dalai Lama says that being compassionate itself is the quote, quote, reward. In other words, we don't need thank yous. We don't need to be written up and have a good reputation. But just the act of aspiring for someone's well-being and alleviation of pain, let alone doing something to bring that about, that itself is its own reward. Why? Because we feel good about ourselves, and we feel, uh, uh, we're very happy to be able to help somebody, because they need the help. Okay, so when we're cultivating or practicing compassion, we need to be very clear in our mind what it is and why we're doing it. Okay, and this takes some soul searching, yeah, uh, in the sense of really looking at our motivation. Yeah? Yeah. So, why in Buddhism is motivation stressed so much? Because in any action we do, the reason why we're doing it, our motivation, our intention, is the key thing that makes the action virtuous or not virtuous. Yeah. So it's not how we look to others. Yeah. It's not looking good to others and then praising ourselves and are getting, look how good I am in front of a lot of people. Okay. That's not what it's about. So, we're really trying, uh, yeah, just to be one human being to another human being. You're suffering. I know what suffering is like myself because I've had it. It doesn't matter whose suffering it is, it's something to be eliminated. Okay, Shantideva talks about this in his book, um, Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds. Yeah. And I remember that line, it doesn't matter whose suffering it is, it needs to be eliminated. Yeah. Now, we could put up a fuss about that and say, but their suffering isn't my suffering. I feel okay. So why should I help them? Yeah, that's kind of a bit self-centered, don't you think? Yeah. Why should I help somebody else who's suffering? Well, if we're in touch with our own experience, we know what suffering feels like. We know we don't like it. And we know that when we're suffering, we would like other people to care about it and to reach out and help us. Yeah. So if that's how we feel, yeah, when we're miserable, then it's only right, isn't it, that we show that same kind of understanding to other people when they're miserable. Okay, that's one reason why we should care when other people are suffering. Another reason is that we don't live as isolated people. We live always in relationship to other people. So if we live in a community where everybody is suffering except us, are we going to be happy? If you look out your window or go outside your door and other people are miserable, are you really going to feel happy saying, oh, look at me, I'm fine, I have enough to eat, everything's great, I don't need to care about them? No. Yeah. I mean, automatically, we're not going to feel good about that. And furthermore, if we live with other people and we don't care about their suffering, well, they're going to let us know that we should care about it. Yeah, because people, when they're suffering, don't stay quiet. Yeah, they say, I'm suffering, I need help. Yeah, and please help. So, uh, you know, and then they will act out. Like if people are poor and we don't care about their poverty, what do they have to do? They steal. Okay. Who do they steal from? Us, because we're the people who have stuff and we're not sharing it. We don't care about those people. So the thing is, if you live around people who are unhappy, their behavior adversely affects you. So the Dalai Lama also says, if you really want to be selfish, take care of other people. Okay? So it sounds like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? If I want to be selfish, I take care of others? No, I should just take care of myself. No, but what he means is, if we take care of others, the people around us are happy, then we live in a happy community. We live in a family with other people who are happy. And that enables us to relax and to be happy. Whereas if we don't care about others, we don't reach out to help, then, poor people will be stealing, sick people will be saying, can I stay in your home? There won't be resources for them. So if we really want our own happiness, we should take care of the people around us as well. Yeah. So many people don't realize this because we're often socialized to think, I should take care of myself, because if I don't take care of myself, then I'm not going to be happy. Yeah, so I'm number one. Yes, we have to take care of ourselves, because if we don't, yes, we're unhappy. But when we're unhappy, then we also make the people around us unhappy. Yeah. So don't think our own unhappiness we just keep to ourselves. We know when we're moody. How do you act when you're moody? Are you smiling and cheerful and playful and talkative? No, you're, yeah. And then everybody around you looks at you and all you do is go, yeah. And then that makes them pretty unhappy. Okay. So what we see in this whole thing is we live in communities with other living people, the living beings, even if we try and escape society and go live on top of Mount Everest. I mean, now there's like how many people climbing Mount Everest? They're going to drive you crazy. Yeah, you won't have any, even if you find a nice, comfortable, below freezing cave on Mount Everest, you're not going to have it to yourself because all these people are leaving all their junk around when they climb Everest. Yeah, look at some pictures on the web about this. It's true. Okay, but we always live in relationship to other living beings. Yeah, even if you live, you know, alone on a desert island, we're not going to be able to stay alive alone on a desert island all by ourselves. Yeah, because, you know, if you're on a desert island, do you know what plants are edible and which ones are poisonous? Oh, yeah, I know that papaya is edible. Well, the papaya's way up there on a tree. Do you know how to climb the tree to pull down the papaya? Have you ever seen people climb trees to pull down papayas? Woo! Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know that coconut's edible. It's way up there, too. Do you know how to climb a coconut tree to pull it down? Yeah. So, when we really look, we always depend on other living beings just to stay alive. Yeah. So, this whole idea that we're independent entities and I can do what I want because it's a free world, we really affect each other a lot. Yeah. We reflect each other a lot. One time when I was in Israel, I was teaching in Israel, and my friends took me to meet one Sufi sage. And it was a wonderful meeting. Yeah, he was Muslim, and we just shared our two traditions. And he was really open and friendly. We did a little bit of dancing. Um, yeah, it was really lovely. But one thing he said to me that I've really remembered is he said, in Islam, or at least in the Sufi branch of Islam, you're not allowed to possess things that other people in your community cannot afford to possess. I thought, wow, imagine what it would be like if people lived like that. You know, I can, I will only have what I know other people in my community can afford to have. Yeah. So that means that if other people don't have the requisites that I do to have those things, then I'm not going to have them either. Yeah. And perhaps the money that I would have used to buy those things for myself or for my family, I will now use and give it to the community. Yeah. So really emphasizing caring for the people around us, not just thinking about ourselves. Yeah. So compassion really entails that kind of thing. Now, at first, we may say, but I want to be happy too. Yeah. And like I said before, if we take care of others, it makes us happy. But look at it this way: if we only take care of ourselves, what effect does the self centered attitude have on our well being? when we're only thinking my happiness, my well-being, yeah, what I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I don't want. Yeah, what happens when we divide the universe into one person on this side and countless living beings on the other side, and we cherish only ourselves? Yeah. Or at most, the people that we care about that are close to us, which is usually only a few people. Okay. But strangers, I don't care about. Enemies, who cares? I want them to suffer. Yeah. So this is how ordinary people think. But what kind of world do we live in then? Yeah, not a very happy world. And also, what's very interesting is when we focus, here's me, this big me who's the center of the universe. When I just focus on me, I, my, mine, me, I, my, mine, and I go round and around and think about it, yeah, that intense focus on myself usually results in my being miserable. Because the more I intensely focus on myself, the more I think I want happiness, and then it just seems like, well, I could have more happiness than I'm having now, and the world's not giving it to me. Yeah. So then we start thinking, because we're so self-centered, of all the other kinds of happiness we want that we're entitled to. The world owes it to me. Yeah. And, we become much more miserable. Yeah. If that doesn't make sense to you, think about a time when you were depressed, when you were unhappy about something. Yeah. Yeah. Who were you thinking about? Or when you were unhappy? Who's the star of the show when you're unhappy? Me. Here I am. I'm so miserable. People don't like me. They aren't friendly to me. They don't understand me. They boss me around. They take me for granted. I do so much to help them, but they don't appreciate it. I love them so much, but they don't love me back. Yeah, I have such good intentions, but other people take advantage of me. Yeah? So, yeah, who's the star of our depression story? Me. Yeah. And then, we get angry because we're depressed. Yeah. There's usually anger underlying depression because I'm unhappy and the world really should help me. And this isn't fair. Yeah, it's not fair. So then we sit and stew in our unhappiness and our anger and our dissatisfaction, waiting for a loved one to come in the room and say, oh, what's wrong? You seem unhappy. And then we could, because it took them a while to notice. Like we've been unhappy for 15 minutes, and they should have noticed after the first minute and come to our aid. But 15 minutes later, they're coming to ask if anything's wrong. And we're so miserable, and they ask us if anything's wrong, and we say, nothing. Nothing's the matter. Yeah. And we blame our unhappiness on them. You're making me unhappy. I'm stewing in my unhappiness. I don't really want to get over it because I'm using it to manipulate you to feel guilty so that you're kinder to me. Is that going on somewhere in the mind? Oh, you look so innocent, really. Yeah? Come on, we know how to manipulate people. And sitting there being unhappy, pouting, yeah, then, our loved ones should come and say, what do you need? Let me, oh, you're so good, but I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you. And then finally we go, yeah, finally you're getting it. Okay? So, what we see when we really look at our experience is that focusing on ourself like this is not very healthy. It actually has the result of making us quite unhappy. Yeah. And then we get more and more unhappy and we can't dig ourselves out of it. Yeah. So when you're really unhappy, do you ever dig yourself into a hole? Yeah. You dig. And you make a nice big hole and you sit inside of it and you cry and you pout and you feel sorry for yourself and you're angry at the world because they don't pay attention to you. Yeah. And you stay inside your hole. Yeah. And our song when we're inside of the hole, our mantra, is poor me, poor me. No one suffers like me, poor me. Yeah? And then what do we put around our hole? We decorate it. Yeah? With all sorts of placards about how everybody was mean to us. Yeah. When I was little, my little brother hit me. Yeah. When I was in school, the teacher ignored me. Yeah. When I got older, people made fun of me. When I got straight A's, they were jealous of me. Oh, and we have all our placards around us with how people mistreated us. Somebody stole my bicycle. Yeah, my boss didn't pay me enough. Somebody else got the promotion and not me. So we decorate our hole, yeah? And then we just sit in it. Yeah, waiting for somebody to rescue us. But even if somebody comes to rescue us, we tell them to go away. Okay, so, when you can see how your own mind does this kind of trip, then the reason why the self-centered thought is something to be abandoned becomes very clear, because we really see how this incredible focus on ourself, too much intense focus on ourself, actually brings us more unhappiness and makes it very difficult for us to be compassionate to other people because we are too busy thinking about ourselves. Because I am the center of the universe. So I'm just thinking about myself because I'm the center of it all. Okay? So it's not a path to happiness for ourselves or to other living beings. Okay? So then some people go to the extreme. Yeah. Oh, self-centeredness is bad. Then they go to the extreme of, oh, I'm so bad because I'm so self-centered. Oh, I'm such a failure. I have no compassion. I'm so self-centered. I'm such a miserable, suffering, sentient being who is so self-centered. I deserve to suffer. Suffering is good for me because it'll pull me out of my own self-centeredness. Yeah, has your suffering ever pulled you out of your own self-centeredness? No, it just makes you go round and around and around and around and around thinking about yourself more. Okay. Does making yourself suffer prove anything? Is that the answer to our selfishness, to make ourselves suffer? When the Buddha was seeking full awakening, he thought that torturing, that being an ascetic and denying his body would bring him awakening. It would tame the attachment to the body. So he went off with 5 friends and they did ascetic practices for 6 years. So it said that he ate 1 grain of rice a day. Yeah, I don't know how he endured 6 years, on 1 grain of rice, but he got extremely thin. Yeah. And then he realized after 6 years that, hey, this is not working. Yeah. Denying my body does not free me from attachment to my body. It gets me more stuck in craving for physical comfort. And so he started eating again. He left his 5 friends who all said, oh, you're a dropout, you're a softie, you're going to eat, But he went and somebody offered him some cooked rice, and he ate that, and then his body had renewed energy. That's when he went to sit under the Bodhi tree. That's when he had the mental strength, because the body was healthy enough to, meditate and attain full awakening. So torturing our body, is not the path. And it doesn't pull us out of our self-centeredness. Yeah. Okay. Now, then another extreme people go to is, okay, I won't torture my body like that, but I will deny it a little bit. Okay. So when I might be really sick, but I'm not going to go to the doctor. Yeah. Because you think, oh, if I'm sick, I'm just being selfish if I go to the doctor. Oh, so I'm not going to go to the doctor. I'm going to sit here and be sick. That's crazy, isn't it? What does that do to help yourself or help anybody else? So, we have to take care of our body, yeah, but we take care of it so that we can be a kind person to others. We take care of our own body. We keep it clean. we keep it healthy, we feed it what it needs, but we don't overeat, we don't feed it junk food. Repeat that last sentence. We do not feed it junk food. Repeat that last sentence again. We do not feed it junk food. Yeah, do you know what junk food is? Yeah, it's everything I don't like. Yeah, everything I like, the sweet stuff, the salty stuff. Yeah, that's not junk food, right? Yeah, cake with gobs of frosting, really salty chips. Oh, that nourishes me. Yeah, until you get diabetes, you become obese, you have high blood pressure because of what you've eaten. Okay, so we have to keep our body healthy, yeah, so that we don't become a burden to other people by constantly being sick. But we keep our body healthy because then we have the energy, to be a good citizen and to take care of the people around us and to, practice our spiritual path. Okay. In other words, we don't have to go looking for suffering. Yeah, suffering comes. Yeah, you may have to go looking for money, but you don't need to look for suffering. Yeah, suffering is free. It comes. Yeah, and usually at the time we don't want it, but that's the way it is. Okay, so we accept our suffering. We do what we can to eliminate it or prevent it. Yeah, but we don't wallow in it. And we don't think, oh, I'm the one who's suffering the most on the whole planet. Okay, my problem is the biggest problem in the world. Okay, I once was working together with some people on a project, and the project was going along okay, and then partway through, these people decided to change everything. They wanted to change everything, and I was supposed to change everything for them. And I was a little bit unhappy. Actually, not a little bit unhappy. I was really unhappy, and I was angry. And yeah, so this happened in America. Then the Dalai Lama was giving some teachings in India, and so I went for his teachings. And I remember, because His Holiness always talks about kindness and compassion and repaying the kindness others have shown us and so on. And so one day I was, after he had just gotten done teaching about kindness and compassion and the disadvantages of self-centeredness. And I was walking, after the teaching ended, I was walking back to the place where I stayed. And of course, I was thinking about this big problem with the people back in the US, halfway around the world. They did this, and they want me to do this, and this is terrible, and why are they doing this? And, thinking about it, ruminating, thinking, going over all the details of how they were so mean, how they were so inconsiderate, again and again and again. And then, as I was walking, suddenly I thought, there's over 8 billion human beings on this planet, and even more animals and insects. But if we just take the 8 billion, over 8 billion human beings on the planet, how many people are upset about this project in America that I'm working on with these people? How many people are suffering because of it? 1. Me. The other people weren't unhappy. the people I was working with, they were saying how they wanted it to be. And I thought, there's one, and then there's over 8 billion on the other side. Yeah, what did the Dalai Lama just get done saying? If you believe in democracy, who's more important, one or everybody minus one? Everybody minus one is more important. And I thought, okay, I've got to stop all my anger and unhappiness and self-pity. This doesn't make any sense because I'm the only person who's unhappy. So drop it. Yeah. And, it was a very good lesson for me to see that. Yeah. Then the trick is, if we can do that, then every time after that we get unhappy, to drop it, to remember that we're the only one that's this unhappy, and drop it. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to compassion and the definition of compassion. Yeah. The wish for sentient beings to be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. Okay. So we all know what suffering is. Yeah. At least the suffering of this life, we know what it is. There's physical suffering, there's mental suffering. Yeah. We've experienced both. Now, what are the causes of our suffering? What causes your suffering? Well, this person doesn't appreciate me. And I'm sick because that person sneezed and they don't wear a mask. And I'm unhappy because this person is taking advantage of me. I'm unhappy because at my workplace, they don't give me credit for everything I do. Okay. So we think that suffering comes from outside. It depends on the weather. It depends on other people. It depends on the climate. Suffering comes from outside, as if it's something that really has nothing to do with our mind, but it impinges on us. But actually, so we think the cause of suffering are these external factors, other people, other things. Okay? From a Buddhist viewpoint, when we talk about suffering, we talk about the principal cause and we talk about the cooperative conditions. All these external things are cooperative conditions. They aren't the principal cause. Okay? The principal cause, yeah, and this is for my suffering, for everybody's suffering, the principal cause is our own negative actions, our own destructive actions. Okay? So when we live in an unethical or immoral way, yeah, we create that kind of energy. And the seeds of our own bad behavior, yeah, in Buddhism we call it negative karma, but the seeds of our own negative actions are on our mind stream. And when they ripen, because the cooperative conditions are ready, then we suffer. Yeah. But if we don't create the negative actions to start with, if we don't kill and steal and take advantage of people and lie and gossip around people behind their back and cause disharmony in their relationships and all these kinds of things, if we don't do that, then we don't have that principal cause of suffering. Yeah. And, as a result, then sometimes you can meet external circumstances that that the world sees as not so good, but you don't suffer within them. Okay? What would be an example of that? Okay, maybe somebody criticizes you. Yeah. But if you haven't created the principal cause of trashing others and criticizing them, then even if other people criticize you, you're not going to get upset and unhappy about it. You'll be able to think, okay, if what they said is true, then I need to improve and I need to work on that. If what they said isn't true, then I just need to give them some accurate information, but there's no reason for me to be unhappy. Okay? So you may have somebody criticize you, but you don't feel miserable because of it. Yeah? Or sometimes, you may get sick, but if we haven't created this karmic cause of sickness by torturing other people, harming their bodies, killing them, whether it's animals or insects or human beings, if we don't create that kind of destructive action, yeah, then even we fall sick, we're not going to be so much in pain and so miserable. Okay? Have you ever noticed that two people can have the same illness and one person is just totally in so much pain and discomfort, and another person has the same illness, is just as sick, but they're okay? It's like, oh, I'm okay, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So a lot of this depends on our ethical conduct. Yeah. So when we wish sentient beings to be free of suffering and the causes of suffering, which is compassion, we have to be free of wishing them to be free from those principal causes of suffering. In other words, yeah, to not create, to not live immorally, but instead to live an ethical life and to be fair and just with other people. Okay? So if we want to help people create the cause of happiness, which is what brings love, and abandon the cause of suffering, which brings unhappiness, if we want to help them do that, then we encourage people to be generous, to be kind, to live an ethical life, to not harm others, not to backbite, not to take revenge, yeah, but to forgive instead. Yeah, because we know that if people, we're wishing them to be free of suffering and the cause, so we want to help direct them in a virtuous way so that they don't go through life harming others, which creates the cause for them to be harmed themselves. Okay? It's the whole idea, I think in the Bible, they talk about you reap what you sow. Yeah, so the kind of things we do, one person does towards the other, that's the kind of thing that comes back. So if we want to help our friends and relatives, if we want to help our enemies, why shouldn't we help our enemies? Yeah, they're our enemies because they're unhappy. Yeah, enemies are unhappy people. Because if they were happy, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing that we find disturbing. Okay? So if we can wish our enemies well, yeah, and we don't harm them, and we have some forgiveness and we care about them, then we will encourage them, to not harm others, yeah, to be generous and so forth. And we will encourage, of course, our friends to be like that, and also strangers, yeah. And I say this because, people often contact me after a friend or relative dies, and they say, "What can we do to help our deceased loved one?" Yeah, and it's wonderful. There's spiritual practices you can do to pray for people, but the real way to help them when they die is to help them be a kind person in this life, help them to live ethically and not harm others. Yeah, that's the best way to be kind to them, is when they're alive. Yeah. So if you have a family member who, wants to do some kind of under the table business deal to get more money for the family, don't encourage them to do that, because that's only going to bring them suffering in the long term. Yeah. And it might even in the short term, because you do dirty business deals and then you get caught and then you have lots of problems. Okay. So, encourage the people around us to be kind, to forgive, to reach out and benefit others. Yeah. And then when they do that, they help the people around them. So then the people around them are going to be nicer to them. And also, they're creating those seeds in their own mind from doing something virtuous, so that in the long term, good things will come back to them, not suffering. Okay? So we can see, if we can follow all these arguments, we can see that being compassionate, yeah, we are one of the chief beneficiaries of being compassionate. Yeah, because by helping others, we create good imprints in our own mind. And then, of course, when we help others, people are going to respond in kind. And even if they don't, we don't get all bent out of shape and angry at them because they don't appreciate or love us as much as we think they should. Okay? So compassion is a win-win situation. Yeah? When we are self-centered, it's lose-lose, because we make other people miserable when we're self-centered, and then we implant in our own mind stream the seeds of, that will ripen in our own misery. Okay. So really think about this. Spend some time thinking about these arguments, and really, what is important in my life? Is it always getting what I want? Or is what's important in my life cultivating a kind heart and living with a kind heart towards other living beings? What is really important? What is really the cause of my own and others' happiness? Okay. Communicating? Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah. So this takes practice. We shouldn't expect ourselves to be miraculously compassionate at the end of this talk. Okay? No, compassion is a quality that we have to cultivate. One of the ways to cultivate this, one of the ways to cultivate compassion is to think about the kindness of others. And this is a wonderful kind of contemplation to really get into and do repeatedly. Yeah, not just one time, but repeatedly, to really think of the kindness of others. So, of course, we can think about the kindness of our friends and relatives. That's easy. Yeah, I won't go into that. Yeah. But if we open our eyes, we could see, yeah, our parents were kind to us, our friends are kind to us. Yeah. Okay. But also strangers are kind to us. Yeah. Strangers are very kind. We're having a Zoom call right now. Yeah. I'm able to talk to you. You're halfway around the planet almost. Okay. How many people are involved in making this Zoom call happen? So it's not just the tech people at our site and your site, but how many people were involved in creating computers? Yeah. How many people were involved in creating the internet? How about how many people were involved in getting the material, the wires, the whatever plastic or acrylic or whatever the computers are made from? You know, how many people were involved in getting those parts and making those parts and getting the natural resources that then got, made into those parts, and then who assembled the computer? I mean, and this is just thinking about the computer. Yeah. How many people invented Zoom? I know nothing about those people. They're total strangers. People who invented computers. I know some tech people, but they aren't the people who made the computers. Yeah. And even in a factory that makes computers, I don't think that anybody knows how to do it just all by themselves. You have areas of speciality in what you do. Okay. And then we're all sitting in buildings. I don't see anybody outside listening to the talk. Okay. So who made the building that you're sitting in? Yeah. Who made the electricity that's powering the computer? Who did the plumbing in your home? Okay. Who painted the walls? Who built the walls? Who designed the building? Yeah. When we start thinking, every single thing that we know, all of our knowledge, all of our possessions, everything that um, is there for us to use in our life, all came due to the kindness of other living beings. The majority, the great majority of whom are strangers. Yeah. So shouldn't we, when we see strangers, when we're in the city, shouldn't we smile at them? Because we don't know exactly what they did, but we do know that we're living in society and we depend on all the different works that different people do in society to stay alive and to have the things that we use. So even we don't know who made what, we still know everybody contributes, through whatever work they do to society, and we reap the benefit of that. So strangers have been incredibly kind to us. Yeah. So you take one object that you have and you trace back all the people involved in it. Yeah. Just take, the clothes you're wearing. Where did they come from? Who made them? Who designed it? Where did the cloth come from? Are they cotton? Who planted the cotton? Who harvested the cotton? Who took the cotton to the mill? Who made it into fabric? Who sewed the fabric? But chances are maybe we're wearing polycotton, then there's a synthetic involved, made put together with the cotton. Well, who invented this synthetic, and where did it come from, and who put it together with the cotton, and again, who stitched the clothes that I wear? You know, when we start looking back, we see that we're dependent so much on the kindness of other living beings, you know, who are strangers. So let's care about the welfare of all these people, yeah, and care about them, want them to be happy, because it's only right, because they've been kind to us. Okay. Now, what about enemies? You know, we say enemies, they haven't been kind, they've been so mean. Yeah. But actually, if we think about times when we have suffered because of somebody else's actions, we lived through those times, didn't we? Did you develop skills living through those times that you didn't have before? Yeah. When we've been unhappy, when we've suffered from something, you know, it makes us draw on our own resources. It makes us create and see resources that we have that we didn't know that we had before. So in that way, even the people who harm us have benefited us. Yeah. Because they make us grow up in many ways. Mm-hmm. Like when you're a kid and you got punished. Yeah. Anybody, like when their parents got mad at them and got punished them? No, we hated that, didn't we? Yeah. But as an adult, looking back on it, are you glad that your parents taught you good manners and how to exist in society? You know, maybe they overdid the punishment, but still, you know, they were in a difficult situation with a bratty kid, and they had to act strongly sometimes to get the message across to us. But we eventually learned it. Oh, yeah, being a bratty little kid and only taking care of myself doesn't work. I have to I live with others, I have to care for them. Okay. So even though we didn't like when our parents screamed at us or whatever they did, still it benefited us, didn't it? Because if nobody taught us to be kinder and to be aware of others, yeah, we would have, you know, we would have grown up, and what kind of adults would we be? You know, just entirely self-centered brats. Instead of being bratty little kids, which can be remedied, we would be bratty big adults who can do a lot of harm. Yeah. So even the people who have harmed us or done things we didn't like, if we know how to see the situation properly, we see that they benefited us. Okay? So so this enables us to forgive them. Yeah. And forgiveness is very, very important. If we go through life holding grudges, we're digging ourselves into a hole of depression. Yeah. If we contemplate every single day the kindness of others, then the world appears to us to be very kind, because we're, instead of focusing on what we don't like, we're focusing on the kindness of others, and we automatically want to repay that kindness. So how we see the world, how we experience the world changes. Okay? So you know, when I said we have to cultivate compassion, one of the first steps in doing that is thinking about how we've received kindness and compassion for others and wanting to repay that. And then from there, when we see others suffering, you know, we want to repay their kindness to us and alleviate their suffering. Okay? And then we live in a world that is better. Yeah. We don't feel guilty. We have a mind that's at ease. And we can rejoice in our own virtue. Okay, so we've gone over time. Yeah, I want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to talk to all of you. I hope this was beneficial, and I hope that all the people who are the recipients of the money that you've raised through this, you know, may they all have happiness in its causes. May they all be free of suffering in its causes. Okay, thank you all very much. Take care.